All right, so I'm going to go over what we have in Blackboard for you this week to help you get that final essay in and on time. We are in week 12, so everything that you need is in week 12. We have a handout that I'm going to go over with you nice and carefully on putting the essay together. There's an instructional video on successful revising and essay editing, which I think is actually really good and could really help. There are handouts on MLA Format, and again, that sample essay, I've put it here again just so you could find it easily. And we'll go over MLA Format today and using a Word program to upload and that sort of thing. I've put another link. This was in week 5, and I've put it here again in case in the past 7 weeks you've forgotten all of Criterion's weirdness, which is entirely possible because it's really, really weird. I've put that video there again so that if you've forgotten like how to get to the split screen where you can make changes on, see the errors on one side and make changes on the other side, if you've forgotten how to get to that, if you're not sure how to export or get your work out of Criterion when you're done editing in Criterion, those kind of things are answered in that video. So it's there for you if you've forgotten any of that. The Criterion link is there for you again. I've moved that, or I've put another copy of that link here so that you don't have to go hunting for that Criterion link. And then there's the short story essay. I have not given you any quizzes this week. I have not given you any discussion board this week. It's just working on getting this essay in. So it's just the one thing to do. Now, in the grade book, there will be a Criterion use grade, but that's just, I can't link that. There's nothing for you to do. So it's just me. So you'll see that appear in week 13 when the grades for week 12 appear. Okay. So that's in there, but it's not for you do it in Criterion. Okay. So make sure you're using Criterion. It does remind you that Criterion use is required. Now, make sure you're not getting this confused. I don't require Criterion submission. That's the wrong way to think about it. You are required to use Criterion to edit. Okay, so I should see that you've used multiple submissions and that you've worked on issues of grammar, mechanics, and usage. Those are the 3 categories I care about the most. Style, I don't care about that much. I put it in there in case you've, in case there's something like you've used she like 14,000 times and you need to be reminded to use the author's name sometimes, that might help. But style is of the 4 categories the least important. I need you to look me in the eye as much as possible right now. You will not get a score from Criterion in a 9-paragraph essay. Criterion can't score anything over 1,000 words. Yours is well over 1,000 words, but you're not using it to get a score. What are you using it for? To help you edit, okay? So I got, my 101 students had an essay due last night, and I got a lot of 11 o'clock p.m. emails telling me that they couldn't get a score. Theirs is a research essay too. They're not going to get a score on this one. Just accept it and move on. You don't need a score. And it's going to give you your trait feedback. It's going to give you your feedback in grammar, usage, and mechanics, even without the score. You don't need a score. You're not going to get a score. So please just ignore the little red text panic attack that Criterion tries to put on you about this. Oh, I couldn't score this. I don't need a score. She said in class, don't need a score. Don't need a score. Just go in, click revise, get that split screen, take care of grammar, mechanics, and usage, get those numbers down, and you're good. Okay? Yes. Okay. Now, it may not get the spelling of your author right. If it says that you have misspelled Gilman every time you've used Gilman, please check the spelling of Gilman each time and then let it go. Okay. When I go in to see if you've taken care of all the errors in grammar mechanics and usage, I look to see what they are. And if it says you have 4 fragments and they're all your header, then you don't have any fragment errors. Okay. If it says that you have 27 spelling errors and they're all Ellison and Ellison is spelled correctly every time, we don't have a problem. Okay. So make sure that you are being smarter than Criterion and you're recognizing that I too am smarter than Criterion. Now, I will say sometimes people dismiss the errors. Like somebody says, well, they just don't know how to spell Ellison. But you know what? Criterion did know how to spell Ellison, and the student was misspelling Ellison all the way through. So check it. Criterion is really good about worrying about things for you. So let it worry for you, right? It's really good at that. It's like, oh no, maybe you misspelled this, and check on everything it's worried about. And then you go ahead and be smarter. Okay, if it does anything weird, like tells you you've spelled the word around incorrectly, just ignore that. It's weird sometimes. I don't know why, but definitely check it. If it's worrying about it, check it. Okay, questions about Criterion use? I did have a student email me at 11 p.m. last night saying she couldn't access her Criterion. She had put in 2 different usernames 2 different times and then had lost her password. And I was very happy to help her today, but she missed a deadline last night. So make sure you can get into Criterion, hopefully before I'm asleep on Sunday night. I sleep good and I go to bed early like an old person. So, you know, make sure that's taken care of on old person hours. Because, hi, I'm an old person. All right. All right. Let's look up here. There's the final draft. I want to talk about this. This is one where you want to upload a Word document or a PDF so that all of the work that you have done to format it and get it looking good stays. Because you know when you copy and paste into Blackboard, it ruins all your formatting. Right? It ruins your indentations for your paragraphs. It ruins your double spacing. It ruins a lot of your formatting. So in this case, we want to make sure that we are saving our work as a Word document. Like if you're working in Pages on your Mac, don't care. All you got to do is do a save as and save it as a Word document, or you can save it as a PDF and upload that, and that's fine. I don't care if you save it as a PDF or if you save it as a Word document. Either of those is fine, but it needs to either be Word or PDF. So if you're working in Google Documents, what you do there is you go to File and you do the drop down from File, but you choose Download instead of Save As is the only difference in Google Documents. And you do Download as Word document or Download as PDF. And either of those options is fine. Download that into your computer and then upload it into Blackboard and you're all set. Does that make sense? Okay, if I need to show you how to do that, I'd be happy to show you that later in the class. Right now, I want to talk about the handout on putting the essay together. Okay. It's not a document, it just opens right up. Can you see that document? All right, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so we can see it a little bit better. So sometimes seeing an outline is helpful, and sometimes a list outline is really the best because you know you need 9 paragraphs and a works cited list, and I've just kind of put them in a suggested order. Now, if for any reason you have an order that makes more sense than this, that's fine. Okay, you don't have to put them in this order. This is an order that makes sense to me, and if you're not sure, use this order. But if there's a reason that your cultural context ought to come after your historical context, don't care in the least. Don't care at all. All right. you're ultimately in charge of organization, and I'm not, I'm not reading it and keeping track of I've got like over 125 different students, so I don't know your essays pieces all put together. So I'm not going to micromanage you in that way. So I am going to say your close reading should come before your use of sources. And then your literary criticism should be the last sources that you use. So in general, I would keep it that way. But if you want to rearrange your biography and cultural context in a different order than I have here, that's okay. So a suggested organization is thesis paragraph. Thesis paragraph, remember, is all you. And remember, you have that essay jobs checklist handout. And maybe I'll put a copy of that in this week to remind you of the jobs of a thesis paragraph and a concluding paragraph. Do people need that to be in week 12 again? The essay job checklist? Okay, I will put that in. I'll do that before we leave today, just to remind you of the jobs of a thesis and concluding paragraph. And then your close reading, 2 paragraphs of close reading your text. Biography, source paragraph, cultural context, source paragraph, and historical source paragraph. And there's a star there, and the star just once again is reminding you that you are in charge of organizing this, and that those 3 paragraphs can be arranged to fit the flow of your essay's content. You are in charge of organizing materials in a way that makes the most sense for your argument, right? So if we need to understand the history before the cultural context, that makes sense. If your biography needs to come first, that's cool. If you feel like it needs to come last, that's also cool. You get to arrange those as you see fit, okay? Literary criticism, source paragraph number 1, literary criticism, source paragraph number 2, and then your concluding paragraph. And then you should have, after that, on its own separate page in the same document, a 6-entry alphabetized MLA formatted works cited list. And remember that by Wednesday, you should have any feedback that you need from me on the work that you did last week. Okay? All right. Okay, so please compile these in a word processing document according to MLA formatting rules, and I'll show you those rules in a minute. Word is preferred. If you use Google Docs or Pages, please make sure to save your work as a Word file or as a PDF. PDF is also fine, and then upload that. Questions about this? The nice thing here is that you've been given feedback on all of the things that you've done so far. Your last 3 paragraphs, you'll get feedback on those by Wednesday, and you should be able to ask questions about them in class on Wednesday. If you get started on this early in the week, you'll have a lot of time to revise and edit. Do your copying and pasting today. Get it all in one document and start reading it through and see if you like what you've said, change things that are clunky, get those topic sentences tidied up, and that sort of thing. And then you'll see how close to done you really are. Y'all are very close to done here. If you've been keeping up with the assignments all along, most of this is copying and pasting with a little bit of revising and editing. And that's a great place to be on the week that a major essay is due, that you've done most of it already. Okay. Now, one of the reasons I break assignments down like this is to model for you that when you have a professor who says you have a 10-page essay, or a 9-page essay or a 5-page essay due in a month, what should you do? Yes, break it down into sections and do a section every week, or just okay, I'm going to do these 2 sources this week and these 2 sources next week, and then you're not completely overwhelmed at the end. I really wish somebody had taught me how to do that early in college, because man, I was always trying to write a 25-page paper in like the last day, and it was horrible. And sometimes those papers didn't get very good grades because I should have been working on it for a month, and I tried to do it all in the last day, and it was a tremendous amount of stress. And I could have broken it down. And the thing is, the bigger your assignments get as you go through college and you hit those 4-year assignments, the longer those assignments get, the less possible it is to do them in one night, right? So you really need the skill of breaking it down the way we've broken it down. And you can see that we even broke the research down, like, okay, first find these sources and then go find these other sources. And you can break that down too. You don't have to do it all in one giant chunk, okay? So if you learn anything, 2 things: how to write about literature. Number 2, how to break up a giant project into smaller pieces and get it done a little bit at a time. Okay. Any more questions about putting it together, how it's supposed to go, how it's supposed to hold together? You're going to need more transitions than first, second, and third in this one. So let's think creatively about those transitions. Remember to make them as natural as possible. Unless you say furthermore in real life, let's go for something more natural than furthermore. And just kind of do your best to make those natural transitions. Okay? All right. I'm going to close that out. Are we ready to talk about MLA format? Okay. Let's talk about MLA format for a minute. This is just how, where'd it go? Okay, so when we talk about MLA format, we talk about it in terms of how we cite our sources, but it's also how we set up our essay. And so that's what this is all about. You also have a copy of that sample essay there, again, just in case you're sick of going back to week 6 for it. MLA format is talking not just about the works cited entries, but how to set up the paper so that it is looking professional, okay? And this document is actually using MLA format. It's got a single-spaced header up here. It's got a page number over here. And I'm going to enable editing in this for a minute so you can see a few things on how I do that. In order to get this in here, all I do is click Insert. So if you click on Insert, you can see the page number, and then the choices are top of the page. And if you choose top of the page, it says if you want it over here, over here, or over here, and you want it over here on this one where it's over on the right-hand side, okay? And then you have a header here. This is single-spaced. To single-space, you use this line spacing icon right here. It looks the same in Google Documents as well. It's just it's some lines with an up and down arrow. You want it to be on number 1 for single spacing and on 2.0 for double spacing. And you want these both to say add space before paragraph. If they say remove space before paragraph, click on them so that it's removing any spaces before or after your paragraphs. They should both say add. If they say remove, click on them to remove, and then they'll say add. Okay. This part is double spaced. Never double space by hitting enter. You single space by hitting 1.0 and then double space by clicking 2.0. Remember, you can select your whole document by going over to select and choosing select all. Okay, it saves you scrolling around. Okay, you indent by hitting the tab key. You can see that I hit 1 key to backspace this and 1 key click to get that tab. And generally speaking, in Google Docs or in Word or in Pages, the margins are fine the way they are. Please don't mess with them. And the ruler is fine the way it is. If you hit tab once, it should tab in 1/2 inch. If you don't mess with those settings, you should be fine, right? One thing I do see every once in a while is somebody will have their document centered, which is really weird. You want to choose that it's aligned here on the left. Sometimes people are centering their title. and putting that in the center, and that's fine. Just make sure that you've only selected the title and that you haven't centered the rest of your text. That should be, you should choose this one where it's all lined up on the left. It's called left align. Okay. Let's see. In the header, I ask you to put, and every teacher may be a little different in what they ask for in a header. I ask for your full name, the class name and time, and yours is just English 102, Monday, Wednesday, 11:30. The official name of the assignment, and that's short story analysis, is just fine. And the date the assignment was turned in. Now, I don't ask for my name in a header. A lot of instructors do, but I don't. I know who you are, and I know you're mine. You're my babies, and I know about that. And I don't need to see my name on there. Other instructors do, especially if they have TAs who maybe manage, like if you're at UAB and you're in a large class with like 200 people in it, their TAs may need to know, that TA may serve more than one professor, and they would need to know whose student you are. Okay. We don't get TAs here, so we do all our own grading, so it doesn't matter as much, but that's why it's part of the header sometimes. If you are asked, or if you choose to use your professor's name in the header, what should you check? Yes. Make sure you have spelled their name correctly, and make sure you use their correct title, or you're going to have somebody crossing off the Ms. and putting doctor on there, or crossing off the Mr. and putting doctor on there. So double check that you have spelled their name correctly and used their correct title. Again, I don't ask for it, but if you choose to put it in, make sure it's doctor and that you've spelled Swanberg correctly instead of the many creative variations on it. All right. If you use a title, and you're welcome to use a title, but it's not required, that would be centered and in the middle, and you'd skip a line between that and the text. But you can see I don't have a lot of empty white space up here. If you are turning out to have like a half a page of empty white space, it's probably that you need to click to have those extra spaces removed. Okay, you don't need a whole half a page of white space on the front. Okay, double space it. Font. As you can see, I am using Times New Roman font. Right, I'm using Times New Roman font, and I'm using a 12-point font. So if you see 10 is kind of very small and hard to see, and 14 looks a little babyish and is too big. So we're going to go ahead and just choose that standard readable size. Okay. Sometimes people feel like their essay's too short, and they highlight everything and they put it in like 14-point font just to make it seem a little longer. I would charge you instead to stretch with your mind and your ideas rather than stretching with your formatting, because your instructors see through that pretty much every time. It never works. so don't do that. And again, with the margins, if you just leave the preset margins alone, you should be fine. So just don't mess with them and you're fine. Every once in a while, I see somebody's paper going right down the middle, and that's somebody who tried to change their margins and they just didn't need to. Okay. Questions about formatting? Oh, I think you know this. Avoid using all caps, italics, underlining, or bold for any other font device for emphasis. Use your words for emphasis. If you want to convey strong feelings, choose strong words. And then save the italics, underlining, and such for titles and title formats, right? Okay. Quick reminder that title formats should be correct in the works cited list and in the body of the paper. So if you have a periodical or a website title, that should be underlined or italicized in the body of the paper as well as in the works cited list. And the same for articles, those should be in, or article titles, those should be in quotation marks and capitalized properly, not just in the works cited entry, but also in the body of your text. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot. I'll shut up now. Questions? All right, I'm going to stop the share. Let's talk to each other. What are your anxieties in putting this together this week? What are you worried about? Or you've just got it all sewn up. You are feeling confident. Good. All right. And you'll have feedback on what you turned in last week by Wednesday. So if you have questions about that, we can address them in Wednesday's class. Anybody not feeling secure about this or worried, or you got a challenge that's come up that you need to address? Questions about how we're putting, I mean, we've written most of it, so I'm kind of expecting a lot of you to log off here in a minute and just go get started, because we've been over what's supposed to be in it. How are you feeling about thesis and concluding paragraphs? Okay, and you'll get feedback on those as well. All right, I'm not going to belabor this over and over again. We can start the workshop part of the class. The workshop part of the class is for anybody who does have anxieties or needs to work on something or who has been asked to work on something with me.